Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thanks to all of you for joining me today for this press conference. As you know, I enjoy press conferences as an opportunity to stay in touch with our media and answer questions and be accountable. I've been traveling across the country now since about February when I launched my leadership campaign, and the message that I'm getting is nearly unanimous. People feel like everything's broken in Canada today. Our money is broken. It buys less, about 7% less this year compared to last year, as $500 billion of inflationary liberal deficits have bid up the cost of the goods we buy and the interest that we pay. The Trudeau government has spent $500 billion since 2020 in extra measures, all of which have been borrowed and printed, and driving up the cost and driving down the quality of the things that we buy. Printing money doesn't mean we're richer. It just means that we have more dollars chasing fewer goods, which always equals higher prices. The Canadian economy used to have $1.8 trillion of cash. Now it's $2.3 trillion, even though we barely produce any additional goods and services in that same time period. So the money supply has grown by about 27% in 2 years, and the goods and services that we produce grew by about 2.7%. In other words, our money is outgrowing the stuff that it buys at a ratio of 10 to 1. So it's no wonder that things have become more expensive. So what are the consequences of that? 1 in 5 Canadians are forced to skip meals because they can't afford groceries. 9 in 10 young people who don't have homes believe they never will, and an increasing number of 35-year-olds are stuck living in their parents' basements because house prices doubled under Justin Trudeau, and now have become even more out of reach because of rising interest rates. Furthermore, the carbon tax has driven up the cost of fuel, heat, and indirectly groceries. Anything that has to be transported by truck or train that burn diesel will become more expensive as a result of the Trudeau NDP carbon tax. Now, Trudeau wants to triple that carbon tax to raise fuel prices even further. Some energy analysts expect that home heating bills will be up 100% this year over last. In Eastern Canada, we have seniors that have to spend their day at the local shopping center so that they can turn their home heat down and save money. And it's only November. This is unsustainable. Canadians cannot afford to eat, heat, and house themselves in Justin Trudeau's Canada. And it's not just our money that Justin Trudeau has broken. It's also the immigration system. We have over 2 million people in a backlog waiting for their immigration applications to be processed. We have 1 million job vacancies, many of which could be filled by newcomers, but the skilled immigrants we need are stuck on waiting lists to get here so that they can fill those jobs. When I was in Vancouver, I went to a Punjabi restaurant that was built, decorated, adorned, furnished, and completed 4 years ago, but still has not opened. Why? Because they can't get a Punjabi cook. Now there's a Punjabi cook in India that wants to come and work here, but he's waiting. And while he waits, there are waitresses from Canada, receptionists, janitorial workers, and food suppliers that could be also working at that restaurant serving Canadian customers, but they're all waiting for the cook. And the cook is waiting for Justin Trudeau and his incompetent immigration system to get out of the way. This is the gatekeeper economy that I keep talking about. And then those immigrants that have come here are stuck waiting to get their skills recognized. Here we are with a massive shortage of doctors and nurses, and yet we have thousands of internationally trained medical graduates that could be filling those positions, but they cannot get a license to practice. Now, I know that licensing is provincial. However, the federal government could and should partner with the provinces to fix the problem. And my proposal is very simple. Let's get a nationwide deal by all the provinces to give immigrants an answer within 60 days on their applications to work in their field. that application should be judged based on their tested abilities, not where they come from. The federal government should back up 30,000 small study loans so that internationally trained professionals can take time off work in order to skill up to the Canadian standard, pass the test and get to work, and then pay the loan back. I also believe that we should have modules for every single regulated profession so that future immigrants can begin preparing to get licensed in their field before they even arrive to Canada. And that will be my goal when I become Prime Minister. And there's something else that's broken: our laws. In fact, they're broken 32% more often when it comes to violent crime. Violent crime is up 1/3 under Justin Trudeau. We see this in the massive wave of carjackings, burglaries, violent assaults, stranger attacks. And we know the cause of the problem. Well, the first cause is that it's a very small number of criminals who are doing a very large amount of crime. It's not that all of a sudden Canada's overrun with a large number of criminals. Not at all. In fact, it's a small number who repeatedly offend. The British Columbia Union of Mayors recently wrote a letter to highlight this problem. And in Vancouver, for example, 40 offenders were responsible for 6,000 negative interactions with police. So think about that. The same 40 people were either arrested or had to be stopped by police 6,000 times. That means about 150 times per year per person. So it's not that there are all of a sudden lots of criminals. It's that the small number of reoffenders keep doing the crimes over and over again and being released immediately to go and reoffend again. So the answer is that where someone has built up a rap sheet of 50, 60, 70 violent offenses, they should be kept behind bars, and there should be stricter conditions on their release on bail after they're charged, even before they are convicted. And that would allow us to take those same 40 out of circulation in the streets and reduce crime dramatically in Vancouver, just to use that example. But it's true everywhere across the country. We also need to tackle gun crime. The way to do that is to reinforce our borders. The Toronto police say that 82% of violent gun crime is done with weapons illegally imported to Canada without having been registered or even recognized by the government. So it's illegal guns that are causing the problem, not Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. But Trudeau wants to spend billions of dollars buying back hunting rifles from farmers and duck hunters instead of sealing the border to keep the smuggled guns out that are causing the crime in the first place. I put that money into border security to keep American guns, illegal American guns, out of Canada in the first place. And then we see the rise in drug offenses, and drug overdoses. In a lot of ways, our people are broken. We've had 30,000 drug overdose deaths in Canada since Justin Trudeau took office. It's an incredible number. In British Columbia, the number of drug overdoses has tripled. And we see 10 cities across the country forming. We know what the solution is. We need to provide people with treatment and recovery. It's all well and good to provide harm reduction, and we should provide medicines that help us revive people who have overdosed and that help addicts wean themselves off of drugs with less painful withdrawal symptoms. But we also need to give them a path away from addiction, and that means treatment and recovery, inpatient. In Alberta, they've doubled the number of inpatient spaces for addicts from 4,000 to 8,000. Guess what? They have cut in half the number of overdoses. That's saving lives. So this is the way that we can address these problems. We need to get Canada working again. We need to fix the broken nation that Canadians face right now. And so a poly of government will do that. We will, to start with, we'll bring back fiscal responsibility by bringing in a pay-as-you-go law that requires the government find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending so that we can bring down the deficit, the inflation, and the taxes. We'll cancel the carbon tax to lower the cost of food, fuel, and home heat. We will reform the tax system to reward work again and cut red tape so small businesses can hire more people and serve more customers. We will remove interprovincial trade barriers to lower the cost and increase the benefit of our commerce across the country. And we will bring back sound money so we don't print money to pay our bills again anymore in this country. We need to get inflation back under control. We will also incentivize the provinces and municipalities to speed up building permits so we can build more houses and lower the cost of homes for our young people. We need millions of new homes for immigrants, working class, and youth, but only through building more can we do it. We've got to speed up building permits. I will link the number of federal infrastructure dollars available to a city to the number of houses that it allows to get built. That way we'll get more houses and more affordable cost of living for our people. I'll incentivize our provinces to speed up recognition of foreign credentials. We'll work to bring down the backlog in immigration so we can bring more skilled immigrants here faster. And we will tackle crime for real with laws that target the most violent reoffenders, get them off the street, provide rehabilitation to young people so that they don't fall permanently into a life of crime, and provide recovery and treatment for addicts so that they can overcome their addictions. That's how we're going to make this a safe country again. We're going to put people back in charge of their lives and restore Canada as the freest nation on earth. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. And the first question is from Srini Supiramanian from Kalapan TV on Omni, representing Tamil community.
Thanks for taking my time. And my question too. The question is the leader and the next Prime Minister. The new estimate from our economists in Canada, how much expected to lose due to the high rising of interest rate and the inflation?
$3,500 a person. That is the calculation. The question was, how much are we expected to lose as a result of rising inflation and interest rates? The Governor of the Bank of Canada testified last week it will cost $3,500 per year per Canadian. A lot of money. So I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of people who have an extra $3,500 kicking around. And that's
For me, it's more than that.
What's that?
For me, it's more than that.
Well, you're a lucky man. You have been, the fortune gods have smiled upon you.
Thank you.
But anyway, I'm glad that you have more than $3,500. Most folks don't. And a lot of people are struggling right now. They're considering drastic actions, like selling their homes so that they can pay their bills. That can't go on. We need the cost of government has been driving up the cost of living. It's time to make a government affordable so that life is affordable for Canadians. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is from Rami Botros from Oxygen TV on Omni, representing Arabic-speaking communities.
Thank you very much. Actually, I have a question regarding the international interference in the election, especially in 2019. And I remember that I asked Honorable Andrew Scheer about this, and he said he answered in 2019 that the authorities will take care of that. After the reports about some of other countries tried to interfere already in 2019, how can you protect the Canadians to choose by their own will, not for other countries, outside countries, to interfere in the elections?
Thank you for your question. The reports from 10 days ago that Beijing funneled funds to 11 federal candidates in the 2019 election is very concerning. That is why we have asked the Prime Minister to produce all the information and share it with the public. The report was that he had been briefed on this back in January of this year, so we're talking 9 months ago. He has not been forthcoming about the truth, and I think he should give us all the information. We have called for a parliamentary investigation to get to the bottom of this and to unearth all the facts. Canadian democracy should be for Canadians and Canadians only. No foreign government should have any role in choosing our members of parliament or our governments. And Conservatives will study the matter at committee and come forward with legal changes that will protect our democracy and leave it in Canadian hands. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Bon Falcone from FPTV, a national Portuguese television station.
Thank you very much for inviting us, Katarina. We have a great relationship. And Pierre, I wanted to say that you are an idol of mine. Because when I see you in Parliament, I see we need more Pierres there asking the tough questions and not being ignored, because it's actually, well, I better be careful the way I speak, but it's nice to see your energy. And basically you sound like a friend of mine, Mike Harris, when he came with that common sense revolution
Right.
a number of years ago. So when you get elected, what is, at 8 o'clock, what is your first phone call you're gonna make? Like, what's your first duty that you're gonna do when you go in there? A simple question.
I'm going to kiss my wife.
You know what?
Then after that, I obviously graciously thank Canadians for the new mandate they will have given me, God willing. And then after that, I think we need to do is take action against inflation. That's got to be job number one. Bring down the cost of living, because otherwise we're going to face mass bankruptcies across this country. That means controlling spending, getting rid of the carbon tax, and removing the government gatekeepers so that we can, instead of creating more cash, create more of what cash buys, grow more food, build more houses, and build more homes. And that has got to be the top job, and that'll be what I'll get down to business doing within minutes of becoming Prime Minister.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is from Anthony Joseph from a Caribbean Camera representing Caribbean and African communities.
What is your take on the global warming and how this Pierre Poilievre government addressing?
It's a serious problem, and it needs to be addressed with technology and not taxes, and that's why a Poilievre government would incentivize things like carbon capture and storage, which allows industry to capture the carbon it produces, put it back down into the ground where it came from, or convert it into a building or other usable materials. We also need to speed up the approval for emissions-free electricity so that we can green our grid. That means more nuclear, more hydro, and in some cases more wind and solar, but we need to speed up the permitting. Obviously, we need to protect the safety and the environment when we approve major projects, but we should be able to do that in a couple of years of study rather than 10 years. If we're going to have an electrified future, if we're going to have electric cars, widely driven, we're going to need more electricity. And if that electricity is just as polluting as the things that they replace, then there's no point. We need green, emissions-free electricity that comes from hydroelectric dams and nuclear power. The good news is we have prodigious hydropower in Newfoundland, Quebec, Manitoba, British Columbia. We have the biggest supply of civilian-grade uranium anywhere on Earth is found in Saskatchewan. We have the best nuclear engineers in Ontario. In other words, we can supply emissions-free, clean Canadian electricity to power our economies without carbon emissions. But we need to approve the projects and get them built as soon as possible. Finally, I think we need incentives for industry to bring its emissions down, and that can happen through a combination of smart regulations and other levers. Those are the ways that Poilievre government's going to reduce emissions. Right now, it's not working. We have a high carbon tax that has not succeeded in meeting a single solitary greenhouse gas reduction target since the Trudeau government took office. So we're getting the worst of all worlds, high emissions and high taxes. I want to see low emissions and low taxes.
Thank you. And now I'd like to ask Mr. Mohammad Tariq from Awaz Entertainment Television, serving Urdu and Hindi-speaking communities.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre. Like the lady said, my name is Mohammad Tariq, and I represent Awaz Entertainment. My question would be a lot easier than my colleagues have said. Canadian team, in the first time since 36 years, has gone to participate in the World Cup, and we are really enjoying the moment as Canadian. And 7 of those players are from Brampton, and the political tide is changing in Brampton and in GTA at large. PC party is really gaining popularity, and it's a good news for us. What kind of message would you like to give to the players who are in Qatar? And would you consider sending them a special message at this moment of time?
Yes, I want to wish the very best to the Canadian players in the World Cup. I hope they come home successful. But regardless of the outcome, we're very proud to have this breakthrough, and may it be the first of many, many successful trips to World Cups around the globe. My wife is a fierce soccer fan. She wanted to name our son Ronaldo. But we called him Cruz instead. But she still admires him greatly, both Ronaldo and our son Cruz. And I expect our little Cruz actually kicked a soccer ball for his first time this weekend.
Oh,
Just before I left, he was kicking the ball. My wife was teaching him already, so I'm hoping that he is among the Canadian team that goes to the World Cup and brings home a championship.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll give him 20 years.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well,
But, best wishes to everyone who's playing, and thank you very much to Brampton for producing so much soccer talent.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Awaz Ent from Prime Asia Television, the national Punjabi television station.
Thank you very much. My name is Jaswant Singh from Prime Asia. I just want to ask, what will you say on bail reforms and emergency grade in Canadian hospitals?
We need bail reform for repeat violent offenders. So if someone has been previously convicted of a multitude of violent offenses, when they go for bail, they should not get it. If the charge that has led to their incarceration is a violent offense, and if they have a long litany of previous violent offenses, then they should not get automatic bail. And the problem is that Trudeau's bail reform package that he passed a couple of years ago has made it nearly automatic that people go back out on the street on bail after they've been arrested for 30th, 40th time. And that means that oftentimes officers will arrest someone early morning, and then they'll be incarcerated, they'll be granted bail, and the officer will then have to arrest the very same person that evening. I think it's gone too far. We all believe in giving a young person who's made a small mistake a second chance, but for the offenders who commit 30, 40, 50 offenses, they should stay behind bars.
And for the Canadian hospitals, wait time in emergency.
Yes, wait times have grown, our system is collapsing, and I think the federal government needs to provide stable funding to the provinces for healthcare, and the provinces need to make sure that is streamlined directly to frontline patient care, not gobbled up by backroom bureaucracy. We also need to speed up the recognition of internationally trained professionals so that they can get their license to practice quicker and get to work in our hospitals. We have nurses and doctors who have the ability to contribute but do not have the license. So I want to work with the provinces to speed up that foreign recognition. Finally, I want to, our party has been putting pressure on the Liberal government to fix the problems that have left our pharmaceutical shelves empty of children's pain medication. Our little kids are going without pain medication because for some reason Canada is the only country that has a shortage. In the United States they have excess pain medications at Walgreens, and Canadians are forced to drive down to the States to grab that medication and drive it back. You should be able to get the medication here in Canada. And that is what Poilievre government will fight to fix our supply chains.